first of all, they broke U.S. law, and they were going out of business. And so it is the most intrusive deal of this sort that has ever been leveled on a Chinese company. $1 billion fine, having external monitors, enforcement agents in your company, having to change your management, almost unheard of. But does it actually fix our problems with the Chinese companies engaging in espionage, intellectual property theft, longer-term access to the Chinese markets, reciprocity? It doesn't. But do we have a strategy from this to build to get to that? I think that's the question I'd be asking. How is it connected? The timing is very interesting, and it's hard for me to believe it's not connected. I don't have personal information that it is. But the fact that they're solving this issue just a few days before they go to Kim Jong-un, the issue with the talks is these are bilateral talks with the North Koreans. In the past, it's been six-party talks. But that doesn't mean the other parties aren't having individual talks to the side. And the Chinese leader has met twice in the last few weeks, last few days, with the North Korean leader. So certainly this must have played some sort of role.
So John, unpack ZTE for us and its relation to the North Korea talks or just to our bilateral relationships with China.
Well, Fred raised the important points about whether there's a strategy or not. ZTE and Huawei are both foreign policy arms of the Chinese government. That's the first thing to realize. This is not Kansas. This is not a leveraged buyout.
State companies.
This is foreign policy. They're not only state companies, they're state policy-driven companies. Huawei tried to buy 3Com 10 years ago. It was crushed by CFIUS. and Dick Cheney's guys killed it. I actually was writing something about it at the time. I got a phone call from the White House, said, you know, stay away from this. This is a bad one. So both of those are companies that were part of China's official going out to Chinese characters program of taking Chinese companies out where they could learn new skills. ZTE's role was to bring telecom systems to emerging markets in Latin America and Africa, and then provide the trade financing, which means you've got a grip on that government then. So ZTE has played a very important foreign policy role. This puts them back in business.
And John, to your point, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo just sitting down there in the front row of the Rose Garden as we await the President and Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. What Senator Mark Warner said earlier on the show was this compliance team that's going to be in there that Wilbur Ross is very proud of. He's very concerned, the senator is, that they won't actually have the skill set because Commerce was dealing with the issue of them selling sanctioned materials, etc. But the spying is what he's worried about, and that is in the deep integration of the chips. And he is worried that this does not solve that.
Doesn't solve it at all. You know, $1 billion is chump change in the foreign policy business, and $400 million escrow means nothing to the Chinese. The real issue here is whether they're going to be able to continue to do what they're doing, not only in the U.S. with equipment, but elsewhere in the world, because it's part of their the Belt and Silk Road program, and it's part of their going out program. Very important.